color codes are used to specify the colors of various elements in an HTML page. These colors can be specified using hexadecimal, RGB or color names. Some commonly used color names include red, green, blue, black, white, gray. Hexadecimal colors are represented by a hash symbol followed by 6 digits, each representing the intensity of red, green, blue colors respectively. So example, I'm adding the color of HTML code, that is hash code, into the color picker. I'm choosing one color from color picker and I'm adding that hexadecimal code to the CSS. So you can have various colors in color picker. You can differentiate the dark yellow and light yellow like that. So it is easier and you can have your own favorite colors in that, right? So you can use that for choosing the colors. Okay, so now we're going to see about border properties. CSS, the font family property, specifies the font for an HTML element. There are several font families available, including serif, sans serif, monospace, cursive, and fantasy. Sans serif fonts are popular choice for web design because they are easy to read on screens and have a clean and modern look. Some commonly used sans serif fonts include Arial, Helvetica, and Verdana. Google Fonts is a free service that provides access to a large library of web fonts that can be used in web projects. Google Fonts offers a wide variety of font families, including sans serif fonts, and allows you to easily add them to your website by adding a link to the font style sheet in your HTML file and then applying the font family to your element in CSS. Go to Google Fonts like this, browse the font family you want to use, select this font icon and select the desired font and click that import button and add that import font into the CSS and add the font family property to the CSS. So this is the method of applying font family to CSS. So the font weight property next. Font weight property is used to specify the weight or thickness of the text. The value can range from 100 to 900, that is thin to bold, with 400 being the default. And the font size means the font size property is used to specify the size of the text. The value can be in pixels, EMS, rems and other units. And text decoration means adding decoration to text such as underline or strikes through. The value can be none or underline, overline, line through, or a combination of these. The first rule will remove any underline decoration from all links, while the second rule will add a strike through decoration to all elements with the class strike. That is a text decoration none. That is the first rule. So this will remove the underline in every text, and we can add line through in through line through property. So text align means text align property is used to specify the horizontal alignment of text within an element. The value can be left, right, center, or justify. This will center means this will justify or this will center the text within an element with a class center. This provides several border properties that allows you to customize the border of HTML elements. So here are some commonly used CSS border properties now we are using, right? So border style sets the style of the border. This property can take values like solid, dotted, dashed, double, etc. Like so border style solid means it will set a solid border. Dash means it will leave the gap and put dashed border, like that. So border width sets the width of the border. This property can take values like thin, medium, thick, or a specific size in pixel. For example, border with 2 pixel will set a border with a width of 2 pixel. Border color property sets the color of the border. This property can take any valid color value such as a color name, hexadecimal code or an RGB value. For example, border color red will set a border with a red color. Border radius. This property sets the radius of the border corners. This property can take a specific size value or a percentage, that is 5 pixel or 50 pixel, like that, on each corner. A shortened property that allows you to set all the border properties at once. Values are specified in the following order: border width, border style, border color. Like, okay, so you can set all those properties in border property itself. So these property can be applied to individual elements or to group of elements using CSS selectors. By using different combination of these properties, you can create a wide variety of border styles for your HTML elements. Border style property sets the style of the top border of the element, while border bottom style sets the style of the bottom border. These properties can take variety of values including none, solid, dotted, dash, double, groove, ridge, inset, outset. So, okay, you can see the result as well. Like those tail, that is border top tail, border bottom tail, that's tail to h3 element, right? So you can see that result. Okay, I'm external CSS now, so you can see the result, right? Okay. FontAwesome is a resource for using free icons on websites. FontAwesome offers both a free and paid version. To get started, you need to create an account and add the provided kit code to your project's HTML document. Once you have set up your account, you can search for icons for the FontAwesome website. There are many free icons available. You can select a size and background color for each icon. After choosing an icon, you can copy an HTML code provided and paste into your HTML documents to display the icon on your website. To style the icons, you can target their class name using CSS. For example, to change the color of the Twitter icon, you would use the class name dot for Twitter and set the color property. Similarly, you can style other icons such as YouTube by targeting their respective class names. You can also turn the icons into hyperlinks by surrounding them with a tag and setting the href attribute to the URL. This allows users to click on the icon and to be directed to the specified URL. Consider placing the icon within the header or footer of your web page for better visibility and accessibility. The space around an element. By default, elements have same amount of margin. However, we can modify or remove the margins as needed. To demonstrate margins, let's create two boxes using div elements with IDs box 1 and box 2. We'll add some random content within each box using the L'Oreal text. In our CSS, let's style both boxes. We can set properties like border, width, height, font size, and background color. So, and by default, there is some margin around elements. So, but we can remove it to make the boxes touch the sides of the viewport by setting the margin of the body to 0 pixels. Margin is often confused with padding. Padding is the space between the content and the border of an element, while margin is the space outside the border. To illustrate this, we can add some padding to box 1 using the padding property. To set margin explicitly, we can use margin property followed by a value. For example, margin top 50 pixels or 25 pixel or 24 pixel, whatever may be. We'll add 50 pixels of margin at the top of the element. If we add 25 pixels or whatever, but the term should be pixel, pushing down any elements underneath it. Similarly, we can apply margin to the left, right, bottom as needed. To apply the same margin on all sides, we can use the shortened notation margin. And you can use any other values. Margin can also be specified using percentages instead of pixels. In properties, you can also set margins for each side individually using the following properties, like margin top, it sets the margin on the top side of the element. Margin right specifies the margin on the right side of the element. Margin bottom specifies the margin on the bottom side of the element. Margin left specifies the margin on the left side of the element. It is also possible to use negative values for margins, which can be useful in certain layout scenarios. Negative margins can overlap adjacent elements or pull an element of its normal flow. However, their use should be carefully considered as they lead to an unexpected layout issues if not used properly. Pattern notation. The margin property allows you to set margins on all sides of an element simultaneously. For example, margin 10 pixels will set margin of 10 pixels on all four sides. Margin 50 pixel will set margin of 50 pixels on all four sides. The order of values is as follows, like top, right, bottom, left. You can also use 2, 3 or 4 values to specify different margin for each side in this same line. Um, Set a margin of 10 pixel at the top and bottom and 20 pixel on the left and right. uh, by using two values like that also you can do. You can also use percentages. Percentage margins are calculated based on the width of the containing block. For example, margin left 20% will set the margin on the left side to be 20% of the width of the containing block. Used judicially. Margin auto. By setting the value of your margins to auto, the browser will automatically calculate and distribute the remaining space equally for that margin. This is often used to horizontally center a block level elements with its container. Margin left auto, margin right auto. So percentage margin, in addition to specifying margins in pixels, you can also use percentages. Percentage margins are calculated based on the width of the containing block. For example, margin left 20% will set the margin on the left side to be 20% of the width of the containing block. It's important to note that margin can collapse in certain situation. Margin collapsing occurs when two adjacent elements have vertical margins. Larger margin value will take precedence and the smaller margin value will be collapsed or ignored. Margin collapsing does not occur with horizontal margins or when margins are applied to block level elements with your border or padding. By understanding and properly utilizing margin in CSS, you can create appropriate spacing and achieve the desired layout for your in this video we can see about changing the background color, setting a linear gradient and using an image as the background. Okay, so first, changing the background color. To set the background color of an element, use the background color property, that is sky blue or green, whatever you think. So background color is the one of the property and background is one of the property. For setting some generic colors, you can use background color property, but if you want to change the linear gradient like that or set image, sorry, not an image, but if you want to set linear gradient property, so you have to use that background. Okay, so this will set the background color of the body element to the sky blue. So you can create a linear gradient background by using background property with a linear gradient value. Specify the color within the parenthesis. So for example, you can see that as I have set linear gradient from sky blue to light green. So this will create a linear gradient background from sky blue to light green. To prevent from repeating and stretch it to cover the entire element, add the properties like background repeat, no repeat, background attachment fixed, like that. So it will be used because background repeat, no repeat means it will the color will not repeat again and again, and there is X repeat, Y repeat options are there, and background attachment is fixed here. So you can try another options of background attachment also. And changing gradient direction. To change the direction of the gradient, add the direction keyword before the colors. For example, background linear gradient, adding two top or two bottom, two left or two right changes the direction of the gradient colors. From two top means it will this will create a gradient that starts with sky blue at the top and ends with light green at the bottom. So if I set left, it will starts from sky blue in the left and light green in the right. So it will go as per the direction we mentions. We can also specify background to specific elements, that is linear gradient for specific elements, that is h1 and p. I'm setting the linear gradient to left, that is same the sky blue and light green. So you can see the output in the screen. This will apply the linear gradient background to h1 and p elements, and you can set for elements or specifically for anything. A linear gradient property is background. You can set it for that. So next we can see about setting an image as a background. To use an image as background, specify the image file using the background image property. So you have to have the file in that folder, in which folder you have saved that is CSS and HTML. You have to have the image file there, so it will be comfortable to fetch the image file. Like I'm adding first I'm not adding properly, after that I'm adding okay, the image name .jpg and the image is there. Make sure the image is in the same directory as your HTML and CSS files. To control the behavior of the background image, you can also use additional properties like background repeat, no repeat, background attachment fixed, background position center, background size cover. This will prevent the image from repeating. Fix it in place, center it, and ensure it covers the entire element. That's it for the CSS background. So experiment with different color, gradient and images to create visually appealing backgrounds for your web pages. Adding background size cover, means it will cover the entire page, so you can see the output also side by side. Created two paragraphs. We are putting these two paragraphs into the class called box1 and the second paragraph into box2 to demonstrate how the float works. We are adding styles for these two boxes. Have commonly represented the class name as box, and I am mentioning width, height, border at solid, font size and text align, all these properties for box. For these will create box 1, box 2, box 3, three boxes of same group. So when applying a float, how it changes you can see on the screen. Here's some more information about the CSS float property. The float property is used to position an element to the left or right side of its corner. It is commonly used for wrapping text around images or creating multi-column layouts. When an element is floated, it is taken out of the normal flow of the document. This means that other elements will wrap around the floated element. For example, if you float an image to the left, text and other elements will flow around it on the right side. Float left, this pushes the element to the left side of its corner. Float right, this pushes the element to the right side of its corner. When using floats, it's important to consider clearing floats. If you have elements following the floated element and you want them to appear below it, you may need to clear the float. The clear property is used for this purpose. By applying clear left or clear right to an element, you can ensure that it appears below any floated elements on the respective side. Using clear both will clear the float on both sides. Shadows in CSS can be applied to both text element using the text shadow and box shadow properties. For text shadow, you specify three values of positioning on the x-axis, y-axis and the spread, followed by the desired color. Positive values move the shadow to the right, that is x-axis, or below y-axis, the text, while negative values move it to the left or above. The spread value controls how far the shadow extends from the text. You can combine multiple shadows by separating them with comma, creating interesting effects like a glowing or fire-like appearance. Box shadow works similarly, but they apply to the entire element instead of just the text. The three values control the positioning on the x-axis, y-axis and the spread, followed by the color. By adjusting this value, you can create shadow effects around elements. To add interactively, you can use the hover pseudo class. Make shadows appear or change when hovering over an element. For example, you can apply a box shadow to an element when it's hovered over, creating a 3D pop-out effect. Remember to construct the width and height properties of your elements while using box shadow to ensure the desired visual effect. Create basic animation in CSS. Follow these steps. Create an element such as div with a unique ID. Apply styles to the element with height and background color, font size and text element. Okay. So we are adding right now. We are adding animation my slide. I have already mentioned about boxes and already we have done box designs, so I'm just naming the animation name as my slide, and right now I'm adding animation play state, so we can see detailed informations about that. Okay, so define an animation using the at keyframes rule. Give it a unique name. Yeah, I gave my slide, right? Specify the animation behavior using the from and to keywords or percentages. Set the properties you want to animate within the from and to or percentage blocks. Set the animation properties on the element using the animation property. Specify the animation name and duration. Animation iteration count. Set the number of times the animation should repeat, infinite or continuous looping. Animation play state. Set the animation to past or running. Animation delay. Set a delay before the animation starts. Animation timing function. Define the speed curve of the animation. Linear, ease in, ease out. You can also use a shortcut by combining these properties within a single comment block. You can apply animation to pseudo classes like hover or active to trigger the animation based on the user interaction. You can also use a shortcut by combining these properties within a single comment block. You can apply animation to pseudo classes like hover or active to trigger the animation based on the user interaction. Sliding animation, use margin left property with different values to create a sliding effect. Rotation animation, rotate and specify an angle to rotate the element. Opacity animation, use opacity property with different values to create fade in or fade out and effects. Scale animation, use transform scale to shrink or enlarge the element. Color change animation, use background color property with different values to create a color transition. So you can use different types of animation. You can apply different type of animation using the term I have mentioned now. Remember to specify the animation properties and duration for each animation you create. You can have as per your creativity. Okay, so visually I can demonstrate some of the things right now you can see in the screen, but I have told many things. You can apply all those things and you can try it by yourself. Thank you. To apply transformations, use the transform property. Here are some example. Transform, translate x, use translate x and specify the number of pixels to move the element horizontally. Translate y, use translate y to move the element vertically. I have mentioned a 50 pixel inside it. You can mention as per your desire to experiment this. Translate, use translate and provide two values to combine both x and y translations. Now I am doing transform rotate. Rotate x, use rotate x and specify an angle in degrees for your rotation around the x-axis. Rotate y, use rotate y for your rotation around the y-axis. And rotate z, use rotate z for the rotation around the z-axis. You can also use scale like this. For transform property, use scale x to stretch or shrink the element horizontally. Scale y for vertical stretching or shrinking. Use scale and provide two values to scale both x and y dimensions simultaneously. Skew x and use skew x. Use qx and specify an angle for skewing along the x-axis. Use qy for skewing along the y-axis. Like the skew property and a matrix property is also there and provides multiple transformation in a matrix form. So you can see all those examples or you can experiment it on your own. Experiment with different values and combinations to achieve the desired effects. Remember to use units as pixel or degrees when necessary. Right now I have finished the quotation